Thank you very much for this very interesting discussion. And now we proceed to the next one, enhancing public sector HR, navigating challenges and driving innovation. With us, we have Ms. Vivi Charalampogianni, who is Deputy Minister at the Ministry of the Interior, and Mr. Yiorgos Fragkos, partner at Human Capital leader Deloitte. Thank you very much for being with us. We are eagerly awaiting to what you have to say. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I'm in the pleasant position to have this discussion with you. As I was preparing it, I was thinking of how fast years are going by and about all the best practices in the management of HR in the public and about the way that these can actually be introduced in the private economy. A few years ago, when we first met, you were Secretary General in the ministry, and we had started talking about assessment-related issues, and we were talking about what the private sector is doing, what other countries are doing, and how we could actually implement all of these in the Greek public administration. Would you like to say a few things, since we have had a lot of developments since? Yes. According to a Deloitte study that we had talked about in the past, 30% on an annual basis, of the skills of people is lost, in the sense that the skills that we acquire become obsolete, very quickly so, and correct me if I'm wrong, the point of work is also lost. So one of the main findings of this research was that we need to constantly invest in the development of skills. Now, with regard to the public sector, we had a disadvantage. We didn't even have certain skills. For the very first time in 2022, a new skills framework was set, according to which in the public sector there are 9 skills that all civil servants need to have in order to be able to cope with the needs of the public sector. That is, time planning, adaptability. All these were unknown words, but now they are a reality, and they are also linked with assessment and with target setting. For the first time, we have assessment on the basis of skills that lead to a personal development plan for every supervisor and every employee. And of course, we have target setting that actually is the responsibility of the supervisors. And all these create a holistic universe of the public sector and of the skills involved in it. And this has been running for some time now. I would like to ask you, how do you use these results that stem from the new assessment model? In the first year of implementing this, we used the results that we got. By the way, the first year was 2023. And before I talk about the results, I would like to explain to you why we wanted to change the system as it was up until that time. Before that project, the assessment had nothing to do with the target setting. There was no connection whatsoever. The second thing is that then we got some statistics according to which 97% of civil servants were being assessed as excellent or very sufficient, something that does not really reflect the way that citizens think of the public services. And the third very important thing is that these assessment reports that were being made had no added value whatsoever. They were, in other words, a static useless, quote-unquote, process. So that is why we decided that we need to change that there has to be a constant feedback, that there have to be meetings with the employees and the supervisors, that there has to be a personal development plan, which means that at the end of the year, the supervisor and the employee gets a personal development plan for the year after. And all these show how different reality is now compared to the past. And by the way, we also introduced the bonus in the public sector, something that may seem self-evident in the private sector. We have specific measurable targets that are specific for every year. They are precise, and at the end of the year, the one that has had the greatest contribution to the achievement of these targets gets a bonus. And we have introduced safeguards in order to prevent this bonus becoming a benefit that is given on an annual basis. I believe you make the comparison between public and private sector, and you were very, very precise in what you said. And I can also tell you that we don't always take it for granted what you said in the private sector. For example, the personal development programs, they do not always exist in the private sector. Or even if they exist, they are not that substantial or meaningful. So you are talking about a clear focus on strengthening the personnel, and more specifically, you're talking about a different day about the future of the civil servants. Basically, we are proceeding to a personalized approach that will allow all civil servants to grow and develop. And I will have to use some numbers because it is very important to understand the size of this project. Right now, the civil sector employs 600,000 people. And there are 20,000 supervisors. So you understand that the size is enormous, and the effort for this personalized approach is vital for us because we need to ensure a constant improvement. So which are the steps that we have taken in order to achieve that? We introduced this project in the RRF. The Public Administration Center will be funded with 250,000 trainings in order to reach our target. As you can understand, this investment gives back to the citizen because this is what the public sector should offer and guarantee, a service to the citizens. And we are also very interested in reorganizing the National Public Administration Center so as for it to be able to cope with this huge volume and to the constant effort for improvement, because this project is not something static. It will stop this year. No. Every year we will strive for the betterment of the civil servants. I believe that you are talking about the betterment, the strengthening of the civil servants, and the improvement of the services offered to the citizen. I would add the following, that this actually creates an ecosystem and a dynamic that will attract more investments in the country. Yes, absolutely. Okay, but let's leave aside the civil servants and these personal development programs so that we can talk about the plans for the other HR management processes. For example, recruitments. I know that this is a pain point of the civil sector, and the Prime Minister has talked about that repeatedly. Allow me to tell you the following paradox. During the years of the bailout programs, no recruitments were made, and no one was complaining about the lack of acceleration in complaints. Now that we have left all this behind, however, observing the fiscal rules, we increase the number of recruitments. During the last 5 years, we have approved 110,000 recruitments. These were actually the people who actually left from the system. This means that the services will be staffed with these newly recruited people. So you can understand that for us, it is very important to transform the civil sector personnel organization, the ASEP, as it is known. In 2021, we institutionalized the new framework that ensures that recruitments in the public sector will be made on the basis of written examination, and we did that because we want to attract more people. And this has rather design challenge because we are interested in the coming year to have modern assessment centers where the candidates can go in order to sit the exams that will be focused on skills and which will last 2 hours. So we are moving towards a completely different recruitment system. And once a recruitment is approved, the successful candidate will immediately take on the position. Because you know what was happening in Greece up until now. Someone was leaving, and we had to wait years for the newly appointed to take the position. So we are waiting for these assessment centers. We are waiting for these immediate results stemming from the operation of these centers. I suspect that technology is involved in all these, and I know that you are actually regulating the technology in the Ministry of the Interior. Would you like to say a few words about that? The truth is that lately we have greatly invested in technological tools so that all the HR sectors can be benefited. I will give you three basic information. We have the transformation of the ASEP, that includes the transformation of the entire IT system used by ASEP, from look and feel of the site up until the processing of the credits that every candidate has, and of course the service offered to the candidates. The second point pertains to the new HIMS for the public sector, which is a project that I remember ever since 2012. A project, however, that got unlocked and will be operational in the mid of 2025. This will lead to a central MIS system that will allow us to draft policy, to be more effective in whatever we do. And the third point has to do with the workforce planning. The recruitments I mentioned previously are done in a way that I would describe as manual. The critical step we need to make is to better diagnose the needs of the civil sector, the specialties that it has, and the skills that every post requires. So with these new IT systems that I just described, you can understand that the public sector will be radically different in the future. And allow me to add something about the technological aspect. For the very first time, the target setting I mentioned in the beginning, and that was done in 2023. And by the way, we were slightly pessimistic about the implementation of the target setting. Still, the supervisors responded effectively, and we filled in 20,000 target-setting forms, and these rejoiced us. And then we started checking which are the targets that they have filled in. And one of the main targets was that supervisors need to get more assistance, and this is why we asked for the assistance of the General Directorate of Reforms of the European Union. We got the funding, and through an AI tool, we managed to read all these 155,000 targets and to recommend to the supervisors different actions so as to improve the target setting that they had made, so that we could actually measure it and assess it. So this was the first time that we come into contact with AI.
This is very impressive. And to go back to public versus private sector, I think this will be a good practice for big organizations, not just in Greece, but abroad as well. So we have a skills framework. We have plans that link skills to the sector and the mobility. ASEP is evolving, the Supreme Council for Hiring. So we have a holistic plan for the transformation of the public sector. I understand it is not just on paper, it is being done. Is there anything else that you have left outside? Although I don't see a lot. There is a lot that we have left outside, but we don't have enough time to talk about everything. In the very near future, we will change the Civil Servants Code, which is the map of all procedures and rights and obligations of civil servants on the basis of a contemporary philosophy. We need to have new standards. This is very useful. And the second is that we have invested a lot in collaboration with the National Transparency Authority on issues of integrity and accountability, which are very important issues for the public sector. Oh, that would be very interesting. I think you have quite challenging parts before you. If we go back and we see 15 or 20 years ago, the public sector was a destination for many people because it paid quite well compared to the private sector. Then we had the crisis, the interest dropped. And now we see this whole transformation. Do you believe that it will be again a destination for young people, for new skills? Well, attracting young people, highly skilled, is our objective. And I have to say that the way to achieve that is the following. We want to create a very clear and attractive picture about the public sector as employer. So our mandate is very clear to us. We need to put forward the good points of the public sector so that the candidates have very clear in their mind the employer for whom they will work. For instance, to give you an example, we want to have career paths that might seem simple, but unfortunately in the public sector things are not so simple, because with the volume of civil servants that I described, we're talking about 2,500 agencies with all services provided. We were discussing before, garbage collection down to the creation of IT systems and study of earthquake-prone areas down to drafting of European projects. The career paths in the public sector is not an easy case for a candidate to have in mind. So this is something we work on right now, so that all candidates have a clear picture regarding their vertical promotion, depending on their skills, whether they can be heads of departments and where, and a horizontal picture as to where they can go to other agencies, to other services. For us, attracting new candidates is a very crucial point. And that's why I'm saying that all this is related, because how you employ someone, how you enhance them, how you empower them all the time, whether you have put a new framework as to how they will work in their working environment, how you have made clear the integrity and accountability frameworks, all this is interrelated and brings about a new culture for the public sector. So you're telling me that next time that I will enter ASEP, I will see that there are jobs opened for me and I can see what are my options. Of course, maybe this would sound futuristic in the past, but with these words, I would like to thank you very much and wish you success in whatever you do. Thank you very much. Thank you.